Hey, it's KP coming to you live from Culver City. This is a project that I'm personally involved in, and I think this episode will be a little bit unique and probably a little less boring than me sitting at my desk trying to give you financial literacy tips. But you know, we're all about housing. That's not just where I work and doing the lending side of it and promoting, you know, mortgages, but also actually building it. So I've got a couple side projects that I'm working on. I own multiple rental properties, and I've been amassing them since 2001, my first property. I've never actually sold a property. So whenever I move around, I always keep my property and rent them out. And that's served me well. It's given me a nice base of equity. And this is a brand new construction. It's my first time involved in that. So I'm gonna talk about that, talk about shelter, talk about why the need for shelter will always transcend whatever's going on with mortgage interest rates or anything that you hear in the news, macro this, Fed. I know we talk about the Fed a lot and all that stuff, but people need a roof over their head. So we're building one right here in Culver City, and we have another project. We just landed the contract this past week. It's a 4-unit, and we're gonna add 2 units to that. I'll talk about that a little bit more. I'll also give you some tips on supply and demand. We'll talk about housing supply and demand, some of the forces that are at play in current market. And you know, I'll even give you some tips on how to get started in case you wanna do something like this. I watch all the shows on TV and the networks over the years. The thing I always ask is, well, how do you get started? So we'll talk about that too. So come on, let's go inside. Nice, great room on the upstairs. And then of course we got the Amazon studios and Sony studios not too far away here in Culver City. I'm sure you can see them over there. Plus we got Apple building another 167,000 square foot office space right here. Should be completed by the end of 2024 for a total of 500,000 square feet just for Apple. I think one of the cool things about taking a risk on buying and rehabbing new properties is that we always know that we need shelter. You know, shelter, a roof over our head, that's not going anywhere. And a lot of people don't know this, but in the world of lending, your cheapest rates for interest rates and mortgages are for a primary residence. People are less likely to default and leave and get out of a home that they own when it's their primary roof and shelter over their head. It is a basic need. Now, a second home, if times got tough, when people start to lose jobs and lose money and they can't afford to pay for things, they're more likely to not pay for that second home. They may not be as likely to pay for an investment property if it isn't cash flowing or isn't renting out and the market gets tough. We're gonna find out. Hey, how are you, brother? Good to see you. It's my partner, Jason, man. He's the guy. We both went to University of Texas together. He got an architect degree, which is like a, what, 160-hour degree? It's like, it's a big one. It's a big one. And he's an award-winning architect, and we've got little kids, we're friends, our families hang out. I'm the one that was lucky for him and his wife to invite me into these projects, and just trying to bring some expertise and you know, some of our capital partners like the RCN Capital and Futures Financial. But man, this work getting done, he's towing the load. I wouldn't even be here without you. So I mean, I thank you every day. But what are friends for, right? So there's some outdoor green space. You know, get a chance to come out here, get your sliding doors, 65 degrees, cool breeze. Until someone builds something next door, this is a nice view. And this is all part of the master. They got their own fireplace back here. Pretty cool. Most of the bedrooms are upstairs except for this accessory dwelling unit. So that's an ADU down there. You can buy that, have it installed, have it crane lifted in. I mean, you see the logistics that goes into crane lifting. Look at the power lines around here. It's incredible the amount of work and permitting just to pull off setting something like that in there, which can be rented out separately, metered separately. It could be an in-law quarters, guest house, pool house, whatever the owner wants it to be. This is the master bath. Pipes coming out for 2 different, you know, sets of sinks and faucets. Got the bath coming in. It's pretty nice. We'll have another little fireplace right here, a little fire feature, like an inline fire. Got a few bedrooms over here. Jack and Jill bathrooms, as they call it. Perhaps your kids, you know, 1 bedroom there, 1 bedroom over here. This is probably gonna be your firstborn kid or maybe the good kid because it's got the outdoor balcony. Because you know they're gonna fight over everything, right? And a little street view. Laid some tar down here for this shower. You can see it's sloped, so they'll put the tile and everything to slope down towards the drain. A lot of work that goes in this stuff before it's all finished. Windows and doors are always a super heavy line item in the and the expense for these things, but I mean, the craftsmanship, you buy good quality windows, it does make a difference on the finished product. Almost like a second master over here. This one has its own bathroom, and then it's got its own balcony right here. It's not quite as big as the other master we looked at, but certainly could be marketed as a second large individual bedroom together with its own bath. And then of course you get the views over here again. You got Culver Boulevard just right out there, and this is, I mean, it's just a major street. There's tons of business been coming in here over the last couple of years, new restaurants, shops. It's a big live, work, play type atmosphere. The thing about land and development, and the reason why they tend to appreciate over time, is because you can't build new land. You can't build, like downtown LA is gonna be where it's gonna be. The beaches are there, and land as it gets more populated, you know, next in proximity to things like that, landmarks, hallmark places, not just in America, but in the world. As business starts to come into these types of places, you know, people want to live here. And if investors take a chance and try and build this stuff up and rehab old houses, buy these houses, tear them down, build new product, people like new houses. They like new product, they like modern stuff. And so the difference between the median price of new construction versus existing homes, the gap's over $100,000. And there's a reason for that. Permitting is very expensive with a lot of red tape and all the different municipalities. You know, there's on average $95,000 in extra cost, you know, just to build a home, just to build something new, just the permitting costs and the red tape. So you got to put a better, higher quality product out there that will fetch a higher price to make up for the fact that you have to pay for all the different fees in new construction. 53.5% of all homes built, single family residences built, are built by two large builders. I talked about them in our first video, D.R. Horton and Lennar, but they aren't gonna come in and do custom jobs in old neighborhoods and regentrify them. So for example here, as Culver City is growing, the way they operate is they go to raw land, unfinished land, they buy it ahead of time, they go out, they permit it, they finish it out. That's a different type of product. Someone who wants to live here in this older, more established neighborhood, but they want to be next to the Amazon studios or Sony studios or the beaches or LA, and they have money, they want a new product. So people have to take a risk. So my partners and I, you know, Jason and Britt, he's been doing this for years. And, you know, I just got very fortunate that, you know, I have someone like him in my network, and we're able to be on a project together with he and his wife. And I think that goes to, you know, maybe some advice for people at home looking to get into flipping houses is, you know, it really does start with someone who does quality construction work. I'm in the finance world, so as one of the partners of a lender at PRMG, I get on the road and I get a chance to see other lenders, right? And in the construction space, there are other lenders, mostly backed by private money, and they will do products like this, fix and flips. It's a very niche product, but look, 27 to 29% of all homes owned in America are investment properties, and only 3.5% are owned by large institutions like BlackRock or Blackstone. But most investment properties are owned by single, you know, 1 to 10 unit owners like me and my partner. Most investment properties, you know, are not owned by institutions. So where do you get started? Where do you go? You want to get into it? You want to make some money flipping houses? If you read the news and read all the media out there, you think that housing is a bubble and it's going to burst and things are awful. But the reality is we don't have enough housing. We don't have enough supply. And existing homes account for about 85, at this point, 90% of all homes sold. Existing homes already built, but they're aging. And those products aren't as appealing as maybe a brand new home. So I would just encourage everyone to continue to expand your network. You know, this loan is being done by RCN Capital. Great friend of mine, Jeff Tesh, the CEO. You can look them up. We have another project that we just closed on right down the street. It is a project, it's a 4-unit project. That one that we're doing, we're getting through another company called Futures Financial. My good friend Kendra Rommel, she went out on her own to start that company. And so I'm giving you the power of my network that I built and telling you where I'm getting money to fund these kinds of projects. So if you want to take the risk, there you go. There's some hot tips for free just for watching my content. Another hard part is also finding someone that's experienced at doing these types of projects. I feel lucky that my friend from college does this for a living, and we're kind of we're working through that, and he invited me in. You see all these shows on HGTV and you see them talk about fixing and flipping, but they don't really tell you where to get started, right? They make you think that anyone can just go out and just, do the walls, do the paint, do the floors, make a budget, and you'll make some money, and it isn't always that easy. Where do you get started? That first step is hard. And to be honest with you, you may lose some money, right? I mean, it's a school of hard knocks getting out there and taking risk for reward. But the reality is right now, I feel, especially with all the negativity towards housing and what's going on in the press, now is probably one of the best times when prices are coming down in the seasonality that we talked about in our last episode. Prices have come down a little bit from their peaks since May. They're down a little bit because it's the winter, it's the fall. And seasonally, things don't really start to pick up till we start to get closer into the spring and a new school year, right? Nobody wants to move their family and drop their kid into the middle of a new school in March, right? They typically wait until a school year is over. And that's a big, strong seasonal trend. And it could work for you if you're trying to find a house that you want to fix and flip or rehab. And so now's a good time to find some deals. So on that note, right down the street, we went under contract last week. My partners and I, Jason and Britt, together, they found a great 4-unit. We're going to add those 2 units. New product is hard to find in these little pockets unless private individuals or custom home builders take shots and take risks at projects like this. So we have the 4-unit property that we just went under contract last week, and we're gonna go check it out. That's a different strategy. That's a buy and hold rental property. So we're gonna add 2 ADUs to that and have up to 6 doors there. So let's go check out the other project. How much of the style do you want to keep?
None of it. I'm not gonna look at anything like this.
I'm totally okay with that.
Everything you see here is gonna be gone.
Okay, good.
A week.
Okay, good.
It'll look absolutely nothing like this.
Love it.
Oh, you've got this.
This is the ultimate before video, so when you get the before and after. One of the things that we were trying to do, and Britt, Jason's wife, is amazing. She got some rent comps and did some mapping out of what we think the rental would go for. We're gonna obviously freshen them up and make them look nice. They can probably go for about $3,200 per unit. And then we think if we put accessory dwelling units in the back, ADUs in the back, that are 2 bedrooms, we think those can catch over $4,000 a month. So maybe let's call it $4,300. So we're gonna have 6 units, all separately metered. In a buy and hold strategy, right? It's about cash flow. Will it cash flow after it's rented out? One thing about rent, especially in desirable areas, rent tends to go up over time. Whereas when you buy a property and you own it, you fix in your monthly payment, you fix in your rate. The ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, are actually a pretty low percentage of lending. Most people get a fixed rate. So when you're always thinking about renting versus buying, one of the great things is that when you buy, you are fixing in your rate and your payment. So you know how to budget, right? A lot of people fixed in historically low rates in 20 and 2021. And so as inflation is going up and the cost of food and energy and everything else is going up, people's largest expense, their housing expense, their shelter expense, if you're a homeowner, has been fixed. And so if you've been taking part of this wage inflation, you've been jumping jobs and getting a higher paying job, the average wage earner that switches jobs in the last couple of years got a 15% increase in their wages. But if you're a homeowner and you're doing that, well, you're keeping that expense low while you're getting more extra money to spend on stuff. It's a big reason why we've had really high inflation. It's because you've got this wage price spiral that we talk about often. You've got, too many dollars chasing too few goods and services. And so, again, when you own something, you fix in a rate, you fix in your payment, you know how to budget. Rent, we're gonna rent this out. We're starting at $3,200 for this unit. Who knows? It could be a $4,000 a month unit by the time we're done. It'll be a brand new product compared to whatever else is in this market, which may or may not be as nice. So again, in a year and a half, by the time this project is completed, we're saying in about 18 months, rent could be even higher than we expected. The project that we were looking at over there that's a construction fix and flip, that one we originally budgeted, we thought we could sell for $4.2 million. We think that right now the comps are showing that at 4.4 million. So prices go up, and as an investor, it could be a surprise upside that you might be able to take advantage of. Okay, let's talk about housing supply and demand. Inflation is the big talk of the town right now, right? We have a huge supply of money chasing a smaller supply of goods. If there's less stuff to buy and more money to buy it, the prices tend to go up. This is the big 3-month period, especially the holiday season, where retailers sell their goods for the year and they make their numbers or they don't. Now, one of the big macro trends going on right now with supply and demand of goods is that these retailers have this glut of unsold goods, and the demand has started to come down because it is more expensive to borrow money because of the Fed's actions. Everything that's interest rate sensitive has gotten more expensive. So that has been hurting demand. We've been seeing that. So now retailers are having to either discount, and then of course they may then be ordering less goods because they think there's going to be less demand going forward because of the Fed's actions. Baby boomers right now are really dictating what's going on for wages. But what about the front end, the first-time home buyer, the people making that transition out of renting into owning a home? That wave is usually demographically motivated. 30 to 36, that window of being a first-time home buyer. There's a wave of Generation Z behind the current wave of millennials, which are turning 33 every year. And the number of people in the millennial demographic that turn 33 every year has been getting larger and larger. That wave of supply of buyers is not being met with the wave of supply of housing. Now, interest rates from the Fed, on the margin, can certainly bring that down, but it's not going to change people getting married and having children and turning age 33 and needing shelter over their head. That is not going to change. So how do we fix supply in America? What we don't talk about is how neighborhoods like this get built and bring regentrified supply. This is an existing house. This house is not a +1 to the supply. It's just taking an old house and making it new again. And that doesn't necessarily help a first-time home buyer. But first-time home buyers going after that median home price, let's call it $330,000, $350,000 for an existing home. That's a sweet spot for someone going from renting to their first house of home ownership. And the people that build that house, they are smaller, typically custom home builders. They go out and find areas of land in the outskirts of town and then build that price point. But it's very expensive to build new stuff. So you see overwhelmingly first-time home buyers going into existing homes that may need some love and attention. And that's why I like to talk about your starter home. All right, so let's talk about the starter home. I want to make sure that this is in everyone's parlance, what they talk about, how they talk about it, right? Your first home that you buy is your starter home. It's not the dream home. Remember the first car we got? Mine was a piece of crap. $2,000 for an '89 Chevy Corsica with manual roll-up windows, no tape deck, radio only. It sucked. Cloth, by the way. But you know what? You can do better than that with a starter home. But the starter home is exactly that. You gotta get into the house. You gotta start earning equity. You gotta start that forced savings plan where you build wealth. It doesn't have to be the pool, the huge master, and all that kind of stuff. It needs to be your starter home. And it might actually be in an area that's a little bit outside of town. Maybe it's a little bit of a haul for you and your commute. Start to gain that equity. Get into your starter home. That's why the existing home sales is such a huge component of all home sales every year. Anywhere from 85 to 90% of homes sold in America are existing homes. They are not new homes. And that is a starter home typically for many first-time home buyers. So hopefully you can mentally get your head around that the starter home is okay if it isn't your dream home. You gotta just open a door. You gotta stop renting and you gotta get in there and start building wealth. So the next home, potentially, or maybe that third home, could be your dream home. Starter home, but it's better than renting. You are actually building equity and wealth. We gotta get you into a starter home. So let's start today. Y'all wanna see a dead body? Just kidding.